You know how we've gotten used to looking at Gen Zers as young? Well, guess what? They're all grown up. Along with all that so-called adulting also comes adult responsibilities, and it does not come cheap. A Bank of America survey found out this morning found that more than half of people ages 18 to 28 say the high cost of living is their top barrier to achieving financial success. And 35% say their total monthly spending is higher than expected. Joining us first with the details of this survey is Bank of America's Holly O'Neill. Hi, Holly.
Hey, Holly. Good to see you.
So, talk to us about the financial health of Gen Zers.
Well, as you said, Gen Zers are figuring out that adulting is expensive. And it may be more expensive than they had initially thought, but I think they're also telling us that they're taking control and adjusting and doing things to put themselves on a great path to financial health.
You would think that their parents, Generation X, some older millennials would have, because we learned, I mean, our parents didn't have great skills when it came to this stuff. They taught us what they could, and hopefully we've learned enough to now teach Gen Z, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Why are they stressing so much?
I actually think that they are learning and they're taking in all the information, but what's stressing them out are the things that you would expect. Rent is a little higher than they expected. Groceries are a little higher. I mean, I look back to the olden days when I was starting out, and those things are higher than you expect. Right. So I think they are learning and they are taking it all in.
Do you see any differences between Gen Z and other generations? Is this just part of being in your 20s, or is there something specific about Gen Z?
I think it is part of being in your 20s. They're experiencing the stress, the worry, the importance of being financially responsible, but they are also big consumers of information. And they're using that information to put themselves on a better path. They're setting more budgets. They're shifting their spending patterns to account for what they're experiencing as a higher cost of living.
So what are some of the changes you saw this year when it came to the financial habits of Gen Z compared, for example, to last year?
Yeah, so Gen Z this year to last year, more of them are putting themselves on a better path. So they're taking action at a higher level. They're saving more. They're investing more, so they're dining out less. So those are the big things that are really important to them. More of them are setting budgets. So those are really important signs for Gen Z.
Wow, and in just 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, so you also talked about relationships, and a lot of folks said that, an overwhelming majority said that financial responsibility was important when selecting a partner, but one factor mattered more to women than men. What was that?
There were many factors that mattered more to women across the board. Overall financial responsibility, financial potential, security. So both women and men thought financial responsibility was overwhelmingly an important attribute, but women more than men on almost all attributes put it at a higher level.
Wow, really fascinating.
We'll have to dig into that next.
Yeah, really cool.
My very first bank account was Fleet Bank, which was bought by Bank of America.
Is that right?
Yeah, in college.
That's where I started.
Really?
Fleet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Remarkable. Yeah, I remember remember the little passbook? You had a little passbook, and you would take it to the bank and you would show the bank.
And now your passbook is right on your phone.
On your phone, yeah. Holly O'Neill, thank you very much. Really interesting data.
Thanks.
When it comes to career and finances, there might be a few extra lessons left to learn. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here with advice on how to set yourself up for success for these graduates out there. So Jill, you know, we keep talking about how there's so much economic uncertainty, but what is the job market like for recent grads?
You know, it's not great. It was so much better a couple of years ago. Right now, what we're seeing is the unemployment rate of recent college graduates ages 22 to 27 has gone up to 5.8%. That's a full percentage point above where it was a year ago, a couple percentage points above where it was just a few years ago. So it's competitive out there. Now, of course, having a college degree usually does mean you're going to earn more over the course of your lifetime. So don't say, oh, I wish I didn't do that. But you're going to have to buckle up. It's going to be a difficult economic scenario to land that job.
I always tell young people that you should take any job, just start working. You can always make a change later, but don't just sit at home. Do something.
I totally agree. So in honor of this segment, I went out and did some crowdsourcing. I went to my podcast audience. I said, give some advice to our viewers. And people came in with really good advice. And one of the best things that someone said was a recent grad who's maybe 30 years old said, hey, you know what? Practice your interviews. You've been on Zoom screens. You're face-to-face now. It's very different. Also, make sure that you are actually looking at what kind of job you want, but don't wait for that job. As you said, Tony, get into the industry, get your foot in the door, work in an organization or an industry that you'd like to be in, and don't get precious about it. Landing a job, earning income, that is the most important thing.
The mailroom is worth it. So a lot of people are graduating with student loans. I certainly did. What's your advice to them? Should they defer?
So the first thing to do is to go to the government website. So if you have a federal loan, remember 90% of loans are federal loans, so studentaid.gov. You want to wrap your arms around, what do I have? Remember, you could have more than one loan. You want to know what is the interest rate, the amount owed, and the payment that you're looking at. You may want to consider an income-driven repayment plan. That can be very helpful, but to be clear, you get a lower monthly payment in exchange for a longer repayment period. I think that many people were just going to say, oh, well, I'm in deferment, that's great. I'd get in the habit of doing it. Automate those payments. Remember, if you miss a payment, the Department of Ed is reporting this to credit agencies, and this can ding your credit record quickly. So automate it, get your arms around it, and then will he be here to guide you for the rest of your career.
And make a budget.
Or just track what you're spending. Track what you're spending. Don't go crazy.
All right, Jill, thank you so much. If you at home have a money-related question for Jill, send an email to askjill@cbs.com, and she could answer it in an upcoming segment.
If you know a recent high school grad about to head off to college or enter the workforce for the very first time, this one's for you. Kids think they know everything, but what they don't know about money could end up hitting them very hard when they look in their wallet and they say, "Where's my money?" It's not there. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us now with tips on how to set them up for success. Jill.
Sir.
Talk to my teenagers in early 20s for what do they need to do?
Well, I think about when kids are going off to college or starting their first job, it's really incumbent on the family to have a really honest conversation and discuss how much help we're going to provide. We hear from parents all the time who are saying, you know, it's really tough for kids out there. Prices are high. My kid's going to live home for a while he started his first job, or my daughter's off at college, and, you know, I want to know how much money to give them just beyond tuition and books. So I think we have an honest appraisal about what the family can afford. You don't forego your own retirement to help your kids out, and then you communicate that. And the most important thing to really delineate is what exactly is the dollar amount that you are willing to contribute to this first step in adulthood. And I really think this is important to have a hard line, because otherwise that's how you sort of get these ballooning experiences. Another $200 here, $100 there. What is it that you're going to pay for? What is it beyond those hardcore costs? And by the way, if your kid's living home, an honest appraisal of how long that situation should last. You know, you're living home, it's part of us. Are you going to contribute to the household expenses? What is it that we're going to contribute? And when do we expect you to move out? Because I think that's an end date is a very good thing.
My first job out of college, I lived at home and I paid rent. It was less than the market.
But again, it gets you at least used to it. And I think those are the habits.
So, and I did that voluntarily, by the way. My mom wasn't.
What a good kid.
But anyway, okay, so how do we educate kids to be able to manage money on their own when parents are so used to kind of taking care of the money stuff and not even letting them worry about it? You know, and how young should we start?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I'm always asked about allowances, and I don't really have a huge opinion. I think it's good when the kids are kind of separating from the parents to have a conversation about tracking your expenses. You know, I despise the word budget. I feel like it's very hard to do. It's sort of like a crash diet. But I think what we want to do is have the kids really start to say, what's all the income that is coming in? I have a work study if I'm in college. Maybe I have part-time income. If I've got my first job out there in the labor force, how much am I earning? And track what you are spending. That is a habit that is adaptable and can really change as you get older. Once you have that down, you have the young adult responsible for the money coming in and the money going out. And again, if you said, I'm going to help you, there's going to be $250 a month that we provide, put that in the tracking, make sure the kid understands that everything else that they're spending, it's on them.
We're out of time, but is there an app you recommend to track spending?
There's a bunch of apps. Banks have apps. Credit unions have apps. There's various things like Rocket Money and You Need a Budget, Pocket Guard, Monarch. But what's important is they do it and they are very clear. There's some amount of money they can save. Work towards 10% of everything they earn will be in savings. I think that's a wonderful habit to develop.
It is great. Jill, wonderful having you as always.